Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to 2026. Happy New Year. Hey, we're kind of got some blurry weather outside, so today we're going to do a little bit of filming indoors. And I wanted to talk about doing a self-cleaning cycle in your oven. So sometimes you get some cruddy skillets or ovens that have something like this. You can see a lot of the buildup on there. And let's see if you can get a little close up on that. And it's kind of got some nice crud all the way around that side of that thing. But I kind of hate to do this skillet because the inside is just wonderful smooth, got a nice patina, and that's where we cook. So not really too concerned about how it looks on the outside as long as the inside's good. So I don't want to sacrifice this one. But recently I had a opportunity to season some skillets for a gal that she had gotten them from her grandmother's estate, and they had a lot of that crud on the outside as well as the inside. So she wanted to get them into usable condition to where she could use them and teach her kids how to cook with them. So I offered to take them on as a project, and so we put them in the electrolysis tank and let them set for, some of them were in there for a week, and a lot of the rust came off of that and went to our anode that we had down inside there. And so in that project, you probably saw that, but we'll add some pictures along with this of what that electrolysis tank looked like with all that rust that had come off of those skillets. And once it went through that process, I was able to scrape them down and scrub them and put a little steel wool to them, and still couldn't get them quite to where I was happy with them. And so I wanted to get them down to a really good finish. And so then we took the second step and put them in our oven on the self-cleaning cycle. And that works really, really well. What I recommend is you take like a baking sheet, something about like this, and put that on your bottom rack, and then take your skillets or your Dutch oven or your turn them upside down on a middle rack, and then a lot of times the feet are sticking up at that point. If I've got the lid to do, then I'll put the lid on top of the legs, and then you push your self-cleaning cycle on your oven. And what happens is it'll lock the door, and it'll heat that oven up to 900,000 degrees inside. It gets pretty hot. It actually burned out my light bulb, so I got to replace that. But it gets hot enough where it just burns everything that's on that cast iron, and it flakes off. And so there's a picture that'll be added to this that shows all the rust and stuff that came off in that sheet pan or that cookie sheet.
These pictures that he's talking about will be shown throughout the whole video. So if it just cuts to a video or cuts to a picture, just be patient with us because you'll get a look at the picture.
And this is another skillet that has gone through that process many years ago, and the inside of it's really smooth. It has a really nice patina, and that's one that we really enjoy using. And the outside's getting a little rough. It's been on a few campfires and got some of that crud on them as well. But anyways, so you put it in that self-cleaning cycle and just let it go. And forewarn Mama, there's going to be a little bit of a smell in the house that maybe she won't like so much. But tell her you're making apple pie afterwards, and it'll smell a whole lot better in the house. Anyway, put it on that self-cleaning cycle, and it's probably going to go for an hour or two, and just let it go. You'll do your other things, and then when it gets done, it will shut everything off, and it will start to cool down. Well, until it gets cool enough down to normal ranges, that oven door will stay locked and it won't be able to open. So wait until it comes to that point where you can open it. Now remember, that cast iron is still smoking hot. So have your welding gloves or a good heavy leather gloves or leather gloves and a pot holder, something along those lines that you can take it out. And think ahead, where are you going to put it when you get it out? So I had a cookie sheet out here on the countertop, and I put a lid stand on it, and then I put my skillets on top of that when I pulled them out. Now they're still pretty hot. Well, I took kind of a wire brush and started to brush them down at that point, trying to get all that loose flake stuff off of it. And then once it's cooled down quite a bit to where I feel comfortable with it, then I get my water flowing really hot in the sink, and then I can put it in there, and it'll still sizzle and pop a little bit, but you don't want it to have a hot skillet and cold water because that will make your cast iron crack. And you don't want that because it'll destroy it. So once you get it out, scrub it down really good. And yes, I use some Dawn dishwashing soap and scrub it down really good and get it nice and clean. And you're down to the bare metal at that point, so you can kind of see little tinges of orange that'll start to rust right before your eyes. So then I take my good old can of Crisco shortening and put a little bit on a lint-free cloth. A lot of times I use a paper towel and just wipe it down real good. And you just want a thin coat. You don't want to get a bunch of excess. So if you wipe a bunch in there, you can even take a dry paper towel afterwards and go around and kind of wipe out all the excess. You just want it to cover everything, handle really well around the corners and the little tight edges, inside and out. And then put it back in the oven. And I set mine for about 425 degrees. And I just let it bake for an hour. And then I turn off the oven and let it cool until it gets completely 100% cool. I leave that door shut. And then at that point, you can do several things. You can go take it right from that point and start using it, and cooking food with it works fantastic. Other people, they like to take and apply another coat. And again, make sure you do it really lightly. And then put it back in, bake it again. And some will want to do that, 4 or 5, 6 times. I don't personally think that's necessary. I think once, maybe twice is plenty. Just to give you a point, I had this oven. This is one of my prized possessions that was a gift to me. It's an oval Maca lid, and it's quite heavy. But it has on there, in loving memory of Elton G. Wilkins and Brian J. Wilkins, and the dates that they passed. That was my dad and my son that passed within a month of each other. And it's got a nice little elk scene on there. And so this is one of our prized ovens, but we put 1 coat of seasoning on that and put it in to bake. You probably got a little bit of glare and whatnot from the light, but boy, it came out really nice. So next we got to do the oven, which is quite large. So sometimes you'll get in the situations where you've got an item that's probably too big to put on your racks in there. I've seen where people will take and put a rock, a brick, or something that's not going to burn, and they put that in the bottom of the oven, and then they put that cast iron on top of that to season it.
Make sure it's not a river rock.
Yeah, not river rock, not a 2x4. So that'll give you some ideas. And so once you've done your self-cleaning cycle and you've put some seasoning on it, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get that hot enough that where you polymerize the oils that you're using. Because I'm using the Crisco shortening, 425, 450 seems to work really well for that. You can look up a chart. There's people that use some very different oils, and they have different smoke points. And so depending upon what that smoke point is, you got to get it to at least that temperature for those oils to carbonize or polymerize and to create that patina that you're looking for, that surface that becomes non-stick and just makes it very usable. So it's a great way to do stuff. Mama may not be too happy, so wait till she goes to work or goes shopping or something like that and do it, and open the windows. It's not major, like you're doing jalapenos or something, but it does put off a little bit of an odor, so be aware of that. But all's good. So get your Dutch ovens going. Here we've got advertised here shortly over in Mesa, Arizona. On January 24th, we're holding what's called a DOG. It stands for Dutch Oven Gathering, DOG. And so anytime from about 12 on, you can show up, bring your Dutch ovens, and we cook out in the parking lot in a potluck style affair. You bring your fixings, bring all that, and if you need to borrow some table space, bring your charcoal, and I'm sure plenty of people have table space if you need to cook, or you can throw a cookie sheet on the ground, do it that way. But I think serving time is at 4 p.m., so you just plan accordingly, make sure your stuff's ready at 4 o'clock. And so we're going to plan to do some more of those here in Arizona, but some of you that may not be here in Arizona, feel free to do one in your area. Just find a location that will allow you to do it. Make sure you bring some paper plates and serving stuff, and maybe some lid stands to put on your table so that when it comes time to serve, you got everything lined up, and people can go through and serve without burning tabletops and all that kind of stuff. So it's a really fun time to get out and see other people, meet others that have the same interest, and you never know, you might learn a few tricks from what some of these other people are doing. So you see some of their gear and you get some great ideas, and form some everlasting relationships. I've got kind of a head cold going on, so forgive me, but I'm ready to go for this new year. We've got a lot of stuff planned and looking forward to sharing a lot of this knowledge with you. So stay tuned, hit like and subscribe, invite your friends. Hey guys, I just wanted you to know that this project of doing these skillets for this gal, Cassie, thank you very much. It was really a heartfelt opportunity that we could take and do those skillets for you and get them back to you on Christmas Eve so that you have them for the Christmas holiday. So thanks for that opportunity, and look forward to cooking with you here in the near future.